The Zytharian scout ship Crothel drifted silently through the void, cloaked in adaptive camouflage as it observed the blue-green world below. Captain Xiphos, a seasoned officer of the Dominion's expansion corps, folded his spindly arms across his armored chest. His species had studied thousands of planets, assessed countless civilizations, and determined the course of fledgling species long before they became a threat. This one, designated Sol 3, was no different. The creatures call themselves humans, the science officer reported, his voice a rasp of certainty. Bipedal mammals, moderately intelligent. They display rudimentary technological advancement, but remain bound to their homeworld. Xiphos regarded the live feed displayed on the ship's holoscreen. The humans moved through their cities, constructing and destroying with equal fervor, their patterns predictable, their ambitions understandable. Their wars, while violent, were insignificant compared to the great conflicts that had shaped the Dominion's own history. A mid-tier species, no doubt, capable of hostility, but unremarkable in the grand scale of galactic predators. He flicked a claw over the control panel, shifting the screen to display historical archives the probes had extracted from the planet's primitive data networks. A fascinating contradiction revealed itself. Humans were not the strongest, nor the fastest, nor even the most naturally equipped for survival, yet they had dominated their world. Apex status was usually reserved for species possessing natural weapons, claws, fangs, venom, but humans possessed only ingenuity and fire. Explain their success, Xiphos commanded. The science officer hesitated. Their biological limitations are numerous, yet they compensate through strategy and adaptation. They are relentless. When pressed, they do not submit. They escalate. Xiphos leaned forward, intrigued despite himself. And their military capabilities? The analyst brought up a different set of footage. Conflicts spanning centuries. Wars fought over resources, ideologies, power. The details varied, but one constant remained. Humans excelled at war. They had turned battle into an art form, their strategies ruthless, their resilience unnerving. Yet, as the Zytharians dissected the data, they noticed an anomaly. Not all humans fought the same way. Some nations were tacticians. Others relied on brute force. But one, above all, stood apart. The humans of the landmass, labeled United States of America, exhibited patterns unlike the others. Their doctrine was not merely warfare. It was total dominance. Their soldiers, unlike those of other nations, were trained not just to fight, but to win at all costs. Their technological advancements outpaced their peers, their logistics unparalleled. But the most concerning factor was something the Zytharians had never seen before in any predator species. They enjoyed it. The Americans, the analyst murmured, are different. Xiphos studied the records, accounts of war fighters pushing beyond exhaustion, of men and women laughing in the face of battle, of unconventional strategies designed not just for efficiency, but for psychological devastation. It was not enough for them to kill an enemy. They had to break them. Xiphos tapped the talon against his mandibles in thought. A potential threat, but only if they ever reached the stars. The Dominion had encountered dangerous species before. The solution was always the same. Intervention, containment, suppression. He straightened. Deploy a reconnaissance team. We will assess them directly. The landing was silent, cloaked in advanced polymer fields. The Zytharian squad moved unseen through a remote region of the planet. Their target, a small but well-armed human outpost. It was a simple operation. Gather intelligence, map out military installations, and leave. The humans would never know they had been observed. Or so they thought. The first sign of failure came when Unit Commander Relk realized the night was too quiet. Human environments were usually alive. The hum of insects, the distant howls of predators. But here, in the thick, moonlit wilderness, there was nothing. No movement, no sound, just the pressing weight of unseen eyes. Something was wrong. A shadow moved, a sharp, precise motion, barely noticeable against the treeline. Relk signaled for his team to halt, but it was already too late. A snap, a flash of motion, then silence. One of his soldiers was simply gone. No scream, no struggle, just a faint rustle of disturbed undergrowth. The team went into formation, scanning the darkness with advanced optics, but the sensors revealed nothing. Their adversary was not using heat signatures. No energy weapons. No detectable movement. Then the whisper came, barely audible through their translators. Poor tactics. A human voice. Close. Too close. Relk barely had time to react before the first shot tore through their ranks. The attack wasn't random. It was surgical, precise, the kind of fire that only came from a professional. The Zytharians retaliated, but their weapons found nothing. The enemy wasn't just attacking. They were hunting. One by one, the squad fell, cut down by unseen assailants. The last thing Relk saw before his vision blurred into darkness was the unmistakable silhouette of a human emerging from the trees. No armor, no visible tech advantage, just a man with a rifle and a grin that was all teeth and madness. By the time Zyphos received the distress call, it was already over. The humans had wiped out the team. The captain stared at the final transmission, the grainy image of a human in tattered combat, gear looking directly into the Zytharian recording device. He spoke, voice calm, as if addressing a classroom instead of an alien species. "If you're watching this," he said, "turn around. Go home." He tapped the side of his rifle, considering his words. "You think you understand predators?" His grin widened. "You've never met Americans?" Zyphos felt something rare slither through his chest, something he had not experienced in centuries of conquest. Fear. The silence in the Zytharian War Council chamber was absolute. Every general, strategist, and high-ranking officer had seen the footage, yet none spoke. The transmission from Earth replayed in their minds. The humans standing over their fallen reconnaissance unit, rifle in hand, voice calm but edged with something terrifying. "If you're watching this, turn around. Go home." Captain Zyphos remained motionless, his talons gripping the metal frame of his chair. The meaning of those words was clear. This was not a warning. It was a promise, asterisk, asterisk. For the first time in Dominion history, a pre-spacefaring species had repelled a Zytharian operation. This could not be ignored. "The humans have left us no choice," said High General Vorin, his voice like grinding stone. "They have demonstrated hostility. If we do not act now, they will grow stronger." An uneasy murmur rippled through the chamber. Some believed Earth should be quarantined, labeled a forbidden world. Others, including Vorin, saw only one solution: annihilation. Zyphos exhaled slowly. He had miscalculated. He had thought humanity was dangerous. But the Americans, asterisk, asterisk, they were something else entirely, asterisk, asterisk. The invasion began with precision. Zytharian strike teams deployed across Earth, targeting key military installations, communication hubs, and government centers. They had conquered entire worlds in days. Earth would be no different, or so they believed. The first sign that something was wrong came within hours. Reports streamed in, units ambushed, supply lines severed, battalions vanishing without explanation. Zytharian strategists reviewed the battle maps, unable to comprehend how their overwhelming numbers and technological superiority were being dismantled. Then they heard the laughter. In the dense jungles of South America, Zytharian squads hunted human resistance forces, only to find themselves hunted in turn. Invisible snipers picked them off one by one, unseen enemies moving like ghosts between the trees. The last survivor of one unit broadcast a desperate transmission before he was silenced. "They're laughing. The humans are laughing." In the Middle East, a Zytharian armored division found itself paralyzed when the entire desert came alive against them, explosives detonated beneath their feet. Precision-guided munitions struck their vehicles, and fighters emerged from the sand like demons born of war itself. The Dominion had fought insurgencies before, But never like this. The humans didn't just resist. They adapted in real time, evolving with every battle. But the true horror unfolded in the United States. The Dominion expected structured warfare. They anticipated military formations, command chains, a clear enemy to fight. What they got was chaos. The first wave landed near Washington, D.C. They never made it past the outskirts. Scytherian command centers went dark, their occupants obliterated before they could even identify the threat. Entire squadrons fell to unseen hands. The Dominion had encountered planetary defenses before, but not civilian militias arming themselves with a level of organization that rivaled professional armies. The footage recovered from a fallen Scytherian officer's helmet was studied with silent horror. It showed an alien squad pinned down in a suburban neighborhood, plasma fire erupting from their rifles as they sought cover. Their enemy? Ordinary-looking humans, men in hunting gear, women in tactical vests, old veterans barking orders between precise, disciplined bursts of gunfire. Even children, armed with modified drones, delivering explosives with terrifying efficiency. One soldier turned his camera toward a burning convoy, his voice rising in terror. They're not civilians. The feed cut out. The situation deteriorated rapidly. American Special Operations forces moved like phantoms, striking without warning, vanishing into the shadows. Cyber warfare divisions crippled Scytherian communication networks, rendering them blind and deaf. Satellite systems were hijacked, turning the Dominion's own surveillance tools against them. And then, the psychological warfare began. It started with strange broadcasts on captured Scytherian frequencies. At first, they were dismissed as noise. Then the words became clear. You shouldn't have come here. Sometimes it was a whisper. Sometimes it was a distorted recording of laughter. Occasionally, a single phrase repeated endlessly in perfect Scytherian dialect. Words no human should have been able to speak. Hunt or be hunted. Morale collapsed. The Dominion had crushed civilizations, burned entire species out of existence. But they had never encountered an enemy like this. They had expected resistance. They had expected war. They had not expected a nightmare. High General Vorin himself led the final assault, deploying the Dominion's most elite warriors. He would end this campaign personally. He would break the species. He underestimated them. His forces landed in the heart of the American Midwest, believing it to be an ideal staging ground. Instead, they found themselves in a battlefield they didn't understand, miles of rural land filled with hidden trenches, farmhouses converted into fortresses, vast stretches of wilderness where unseen hunters stalked them. At night, the sky itself turned against them. 10 warthogs screamed through the air, their infamous cannons unleashing hellfire. Infantry units, battered and broken, sent desperate distress calls as unseen assailants picked them off in the dark. One final transmission from the field echoed through the Dominion fleet. A Scytherian officer's ragged breathing filled the silence before he spoke. They don't just fight. They don't just kill. His voice trembled. Asterisk, asterisk, they enjoy it, asterisk, asterisk. And then nothing. Vorin never sent another command. His forces never regrouped. The invasion fleet, once an instrument of destruction, was now an armada of ghosts. Captain Zypho stood aboard the command vessel, staring at the battle reports. The impossible had happened. The Dominion had suffered absolute defeat. And as the final data streamed in, he understood the truth. Humans were predators. But the Americans? They were apex predators. The Dominion fleet drifted in silence, its once proud banners torn, its formations shattered. The invasion that had begun with such certainty had ended in something far worse than failure. It had ended in humiliation. Captain Zypho stood on the bridge of the command vessel, watching as the last of the retreating warships limped toward the safety of deep space. What remained of their armada was broken, their forces reduced to a fraction of what they had once been. The humans had not just resisted. They had torn the Dominion apart from the inside out. Zyphos turned his gaze toward the planetary display, Earth's blue surface still visible through the viewport. It was a world they had underestimated, a species they had misunderstood. But nothing haunted him more than the faces of those Americans, asterisk, asterisk, grinning in the midst of battle, reveling in the carnage as if it were sport, asterisk, asterisk. A transmission flickered onto the bridge's central display, the high command of the Dominion appearing in holographic form. Their expressions were unreadable, but Xiphos knew the weight of their silence. He had served the Dominion for centuries. He had witnessed the fall of empires, the eradication of species deemed too dangerous to coexist. But never had he seen the sheer, unfiltered fear that now clouded the eyes of his superiors. High Chancellor Varus spoke first, his voice slow, deliberate. "What are they?" Xiphos exhaled, his mandibles clicking softly. "Predators. But not like any we've encountered before." His gaze darkened. "They are not just warriors. They are killers." A long pause. Then another voice, one of the elder strategists, rasped with uncertainty. "The Dominion does not flee. We do not suffer defeat." Xiphos clenched his jaw. This was not defeat, this was annihilation. The room remained still as they absorbed the truth. The humans, particularly the Americans, had waged a type of war that no Dominion force had been prepared for. They did not fight to survive. They fought to ensure their enemy never walked away, asterisk, asterisk. And now, humanity had their technology. Surveillance logs showed American forces retrieving Dominion weapons, reverse engineering ships, breaking down every piece of alien technology they could scavenge. They weren't just celebrating victory. They were preparing for something greater. "They are not content to remain on their world," Xiphos murmured. "They have seen what lies beyond. And now, they will come for it." A flicker of movement on the display. A new transmission. This one wasn't from the Dominion. The bridge fell silent as the image of a human filled the screen. He was seated in a makeshift war room, an American flag hanging loosely behind him. His uniform was worn, but his posture was relaxed. Asterisk, asterisk, too relaxed, asterisk, asterisk, for a man who had just helped repel an interstellar invasion. He had the air of a predator that had tasted blood and wanted more. He leaned forward, his eyes filled with something Xiphos could not describe. "We figured out how to tap into your comms," the man said, voice casual, almost amused. "Didn't take long. You left a lot of wreckage behind." He gestured off-screen, as if motioning to something or someone. "Your ships? We'll be taking those. Your weapons? Those too. Might not even need them, though. Turns out, we're already better at this than you are." Xiphos felt a slow, creeping dread slither up his spine. The man smiled. "Here's the deal. We could chase you, could wipe out what's left of your little invasion force. But we're feeling generous. So instead, we'll give you a head start." The humans were taunting them. "You'll tell your people what happened here," the man continued, his expression hardening. "You'll tell them to stay the hell away from Earth, from humanity." His grin returned, sharp and unsettling, and especially from us. He leaned in just slightly, his next word sending a chill through the command bridge. "Because if you come back, we won't just defend ourselves." The display flickered, the image distorted, and for a moment, only his voice remained. "We'll come for you." And then the screen went dark. No one spoke. No one moved. Even the war-hardened officers of the Dominion High Command sat in stunned silence, the weight of those words pressing down on them like a physical force. Xiphos swallowed, his throat dry. There would be no counterattack, no second wave. The Dominion would not return to Earth, because the lesson had been learned. Never underestimate an apex predator.